So, my name's Cheryl, and this is our third meeting of the Wizarding Recipes for our Summer Reading Cookbook Club. We are making Molly's Meatballs today. The supplies that you're going to need to make this recipe is you're going to need a tongs, a skillet, a bowl, spoon, a knife, a cutting board, a plate for afterwards, measuring cups, and measuring spoons. So those are the items that we're going to need to get everything prepared. And we're going to read our recipe. Our ingredients are going to be a pound of lean ground beef, a half a cup of breadcrumbs, 1 large egg, 1 onion, finely chopped, 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh parsley, which we used the dried parsley, so we just used like 1 teaspoon. A half a teaspoon of salt, a quarter teaspoon of black pepper, an eighth a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and 2 tablespoons of oil. So what I did to prepare in advance, I've already chopped up my onion, and I put all my ingredients out ready to go, and I got my oil in my pan, and it started to heat. So what we're going to do first, we're going to start making our meatballs. So we're going to mix our beef, our crumbs, our egg, onion, and spices in a large bowl, and we'll mix them in thoroughly. And I added extra onion powder and garlic powder because, it always makes everything better. So we're going to have all of that. So we're just going to mix in our breadcrumbs, our seasoning, and then a big bowl of onions, because that's where we get our flavor from. And then we're going to take our 1 egg. Just try not, if you're going to crack it over, try not to get shells in. So, get these out of our way. And when I prep or get ready for anything, I always like to have a bag or a bowl. So when I chop up my onions, you can put like your ends, your scraps, skins, and anything you open and everything, your egg, throw it in the bag, so then all your garbage is centrally located and easy to get rid of. So we're going to mix all this ingredients in our large bowl. That's a lot of onions in there. And you can make, it doesn't say what size to make our meatballs, but I'm thinking we're going to kind of roll them kind of small, just because that way they'll cook faster. Oh, here comes the messy part. And of course, like before, I forgot to get a towel. So, no matter how prepared I am, I forget. So I'm going to run to the kitchen real quick and grab a paper towel. I'm back. Okay, so now I'm going to use my hands because you just can't get this to combine as well with using a spoon. So we're going to get our hands in there and get them nice and messy. Try to use our hands to roll them with anyways. So probably should have diced my onions a little bit smaller, but you definitely see them. Okay, I think we're nicely mixed up. So it says that this is going to serve 6. So I don't know. This is what our meat looks like. I chunked my onions really big. But I guess it just depends on how big you make your meatballs. But we're going to make ours a little bit smaller because they'll cook quicker just for the time. So you can make them as big as you want. And I'm just going to, I think my oil's ready. Drop them in. You're supposed to put your 2 tablespoons of oil in your pan, get it warmed up. So I'm going to get these in here. I'm going to try and roll fast, not talk so fast. Get these. It says to spread them out, but they have such a nice large skillet here at the church that I think they'll fit every meatball that we're going to make. And it says to cook them for 4 minutes on each side until they're nice and brown. Getting a little bit big again. Get rid of that big onion. You didn't see that. I love onion. I love garlic. My husband not so much. But if you cut it up small enough, he doesn't know it's in there. So you learn to hide stuff from picky eaters. Like for the longest time, he wouldn't eat mushrooms. He didn't know he was eating them all along. I would just cut them up small enough that it gave the flavor that you couldn't see them. So yeah, if you have any picky eaters out there, that's a good way to sneak in things that they don't like. Just like with spinach, a lot of times he doesn't like spinach. I could just chop it up a little small. I said, oh no, it's parsley. But he just doesn't know. Clearly I'm going to have to turn my heat up on my pan because it's not starting to sizzle yet. Try and get my hand a little washed off. Turn it up. Yeah, and this is the first time I've ever cooked on gas since we've been using this church cooking for cookbook club, our church's facilities here at the Methodist Church. So it's definitely different from cooking on electric. I don't have gas at home. I mean, I really like how gas cooks, but it's not available where I live to run the line because we're so far between houses. I got a few more to roll. I'm starting to hear them sizzle. Look how small I started and it got bigger. As it gradually went, the first one seemed tiny and the rest of them are getting bigger. So, oh well. It won't take that long to cook, I don't think. There's a few onions left in the bottom of my bowl, but we're going to just leave them stay there because I'm not going to try to press them in anywhere. Okay, wipe my hands off. I hear them, they're starting to sizzle really good. See what my flame is. Go up a little higher. So I'm not one to time a lot of stuff unless I'm baking, so I just like to kind of go by judging by how long it sits. And they say you shouldn't, play with your food a lot, so it's just one of those things where you, like feeling steak, chicken, you can feel by the touch and that, but I do time my chicken because there's nothing worse than overcooking chicken. So I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way. So when we get our stuff for our onion sauce, we have room to do it. Give it a little higher. I'm going to check the first one we put in the pan. Starting to get a little bit brown on the bottom, and then we'll watch. Like I said, this is the first time I ever officially made meatballs. I'll admit that we don't eat many meatballs, and when I do, it's usually like if we're going somewhere. So I buy those ones in the bag, frozen. They're like real quick. You just either add barbecue sauce or sauce to them if you want to throw to make like a nice meatball hoagie. So I guess I'm learning something new. That's something too that, during our cookbook club, I have learned like new techniques as well as taught, new techniques to some of our teens. Because you learn shortcuts and other things that everybody else does that you might not do. Like when I make my pasta, I always season my water with garlic powder, onion powder, and they say to season it always with salt, but I always season it with that because you want to season your pasta, so you want to get all that extra flavor in there, and if you build it in your pasta, it just keeps adding to it when you go from your sauce. Starting to look really good. I had to laugh because meatballs are round, and it says to fry on each side until it's well brown. So I'm like, It said they're round meatballs, so they have to get some flatness. Ooh, they're starting to get good, these middle ones. Okay. Might have to start all over again already. Guess we're going to do some quick flips. Might have to turn the heat down. But yeah, it says to serve over pasta or mashed potatoes. So whatever you prefer. I love both, or rice even, it said too. I love mashed potatoes and I love pasta, but I just think with this, the mashed potatoes sound a lot better because it's almost like a hamburger gravy, but they're meatballs. It's cooking pretty quick. It's less than 4 minutes, that's for sure. Probably got my pan up too high. Wish we had smell-o-vision too. They smell good, all this onion. We'll let those set for a little bit. So our recipe next week is going to be another baking recipe. I'm still, my friend Connie, my co-worker, she's forced me to come out of my comfort zone. And I'm just not used to baking a lot. I call myself an assembler. I like to assemble desserts. I don't like to bake desserts. It's not that I can't bake, it's just, if you gotta make them look pretty or anything, it just doesn't happen. And mine always, I always tell everybody, if you want it pretty, don't ask me to do it. But I have worked on my technique for my caramel apple pie, which is a recipe on our cookbook club. You'll be able to see it. We have made that here. And I make a real pretty lattice top, and I even make my own crust because my fellow co-worker Angie, she gave me the most fabulous pie crust recipe, and it's on our website also, that it is so easy. I could never get that. Oh, my mom always told me, it's by the touch when you mix your Crisco and try and get the pea size shaped and all that. I could never do that. Well, Angie's recipe calls for oil, and it is amazing. It all just combines together, and it is so easy to do that anybody who has trouble with making pie crust, I highly recommend to get on and get our recipe from there, because it is really good. I think I'm going to have to turn my heat down a little bit because my meatballs are getting a little bit more brown than I want. We got to slow them down a little bit. But they do smell really good and they're looking really cute. If meatballs can be cute. Actually, they remind me of another friend of mine, co-worker. I get a lot of recipes off of my co-workers. They're always helping me out somehow. But she always made porcupine balls, which are meatballs. And she had told me to make them, but it's meatballs, I think, with rice. And that's why they call them porcupine balls. So, actually, that's what it kind of looks like with all these big chunks of onion. I don't know that I got all the sides just yet, so it's probably going to be a few more minutes. Maybe some of the smaller ones might be done. Yeah, I had to laugh. I'm getting all these floaty onions in the bottom because they're falling out. But I still have a meatball. But yeah, so if you're interested, you just have to go to our team page under programs, go into the teams, and all our recipes that we have ever made for our cookbook club are on that website. And I can seriously tell you that there hasn't been a single recipe that any of the teams have ever complained about. Well, besides, the picky eaters who are like, I don't do vegetables, or, I don't do this or that. But otherwise, everything has been really good. We've made pizza, homemade pizza crust. We've made potato salad. We entered our chili, our chicken chili in our chili cook-off that the library had. And it was really good. We didn't win, but it was good. I think we should have won. But there was one chili that was really good that it did beat us. So, but it's like all our recipes, they're free. You could just print them off. I said, or you could just copy them right off our website. They're on these cute little recipe cards for our cookbook club. Our cookbook club was from ages usually about 10 with adult supervision and up. So we had ages all the way up to, we had a grandma who came with her granddaughter. And one time over last year's summer reading, we had a grandma, a mom, and her daughter come and attend our program. And it's really something nice and fun that you can do with your grandkids, your kids, or just even like throw your husband on there and say, hey, get some tips. I tried telling my husband before I left today, now if you're not doing anything, if you want to take your lunch around 1 o'clock, you could catch my show and and get some tips. I said, and then I can have dinner when I get home some night. I've always told him, I would be happy. He doesn't cook. I'd be happy if I just came home and he made me soup and a sandwich, just so I didn't have to cook. It would be so nice. I said, not all the time, just as like a special treat. But last night he did surprise me. He went and got himself a sandwich from Arby's. So, he kind of did do it. He brought me a sandwich home. So I brought it for my lunch today, and it was really good. And it was surprising as he knew what I would want to order and didn't even have to call and ask me. So it was actually a surprise. So I think these look all nice and brown all the way around. Looks super yummy. So I'm going to remove, it says to remove from your platter, onto a platter from your heat. So I'm going to set my platter right here next to my stove. Put our meatballs right on it. Because then you're going to make your onion sauce right in the same skillet. Which it really helps because I have all those brown bits of onions already in there. So it's just going to give more flavor. Oops, that was out of the way. Some of my meatballs aren't too round anymore, so I think maybe I just have to, let me turn this down so we don't scorch our onions that are already in there. Now I'm going to get my spoon. I have a spatula actually. Okay, so for the onion sauce, we're going to start out with 2 tablespoons of oil. We already have oil from the meatballs, and the meat must have been a little bit fatty. So the oil that we browned it in is in there. So I don't think we're going to need any more of the oil. So I'm going to start in, and it says to add your onions and then brown. And I left these onions a little bit bigger. So, in case you don't like, or like someone in your family doesn't like onions, they can probably pick them out if they don't cook down too small. So we'll get these so that they brown, start softening. When they start looking a little bit like opaque, that's when you know that they're getting ready. An opaque means where they kind of look a little bit clear. I said I don't know a lot of technical terms for cooking, but I do know that one. I said I love watching any kind of cooking channel. That's what I watch all the time. It's some sort of cooking channel or Hallmark. Who can't watch Hallmark right now? It is Christmas in July. So, but my husband, it's like if I'm not reading a book, I'm usually watching a cooking channel. I always flip between. But can't go wrong because he reaps the rewards from. I just can't get this gas stove figured out here. He reaps the rewards from my cooking channel because it's like I come up with recipes. Like the other night I went home and I'm like, I had no clue what to cook for dinner. So we had some Smokies in the fridge left over, and I had a couple chicken breasts in the fridge that we had grilled as leftovers, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to boil some pasta. And I cut up the Smokies and I cut up the chicken breasts and I put those in the pan and sauteed them, and then I added a little bit of butter. And I didn't have any chicken stock in the cupboard, but I did have the bouillon type chicken, the soup base or something, so I put some of that in some of the pasta water, and then I mixed in some dehydrated garlic and some dehydrated onion, and then a little bit of mayonnaise, and then I had a vegetable blend that had like zucchini, yellow squash, carrots, celery, and I want to say cauliflower and broccoli in it. And I mixed that all together. So it's like he didn't give me any suggestions what he wanted for dinner that night. So I'm like, well, he's going to get what I make and he's going to have to eat it. So he was out mowing. So I finished up dinner and I had my dinner and I went in and I told him, I'll finish mowing, you go in and eat. He asked me, what'd you make? And I'm like, I don't know. It didn't have a name. I just threw it all together. And so it's like I come out and I finished up mowing. He said, that was really good. He said, you'll have to make that again. So that's going to have to see. I had to go in the house and hurry up and write it down on a card because I will never remember it. Some of my best meals are just, let's just clean out the fridge. And I know a lot of people out there probably have the same thing. So let's see. It says, add your 2 tablespoons of oil to the skillet and heat. Add the chopped onion and cook over medium. Heat, stir occasionally until brown. Okay? Well, they're starting to look kind of brown, but I think it's a lot to do with the leftovers in there. So we'll just let them get a little bit more tender. Turn it up a little bit more because when we do add the flour and chicken stock, it's going to have to thicken. So we'll do that. Nice and white and gooey. And I always like to have either a paper towel or something so you can set your utensils on, and it kind of keeps the mess down. You want to think of maybe we should get the mashed potatoes into a bowl and heat those up, because I don't think it's going to take too long. I'm talking to my Tawny. She's got to pop in and say hi. Come on, Tawny, say hi. Hi, that's my camera crew. I'm putting her to work. Because I forgot to get it ahead, but if you were to heat it too soon, then it won't be good anyways. But I said if we get it started heating now, then I think this is going to be really yummy. Everybody loves when I get back to the library because we have all this yummy food to try. Our jam tarts, they come out really good. I was kind of proud of myself, pat myself on the shoulder, because I had to have Tawny assist me on how to roll out because it was not working for me. So it was a learning curve, but like all of you, we all learn as we do it. And it's really warm standing in front of this big giant skillet. My husband always makes fun of me when I say that. It's like he says, can't you say just big or giant? He says, why do you have to say a big giant? He says, you just never catch these kind of things that how you say things until someone brings it to your attention. But I don't know. I like big giant. It sounds good. But actually, I wish I had one of these at home. Well, I think our onions look nice and tender. I'm ready to go. So now we're going to add our broth and cook stirring, and then we're going to add our flour. Let me see if I can make this into the pan. There we go. There's our chicken broth, and that was just the 14-ounce can of chicken broth, and the onion and oil. That's all that goes in with the onions. So cook over medium heat, add till brown. Add flour and stir to combine. Oops. Now I'm adding flour. I'm supposed to stir the flour in first. Should have brought a whisk. Hopefully it'll thicken up. I might have to add a little bit more flour since we did have more than the 2 tablespoons of oil. We still had all the juice from the meatballs in here, but we'll see. Turn our heat back up a little bit more. We'll see if we have to add any. And it's like you can taste it as you go, you know, add a little bit of your salt, a little bit of pepper and stuff like that, and you can season it. You'll learn as you cook that you add more flavor, or next time you do the recipe, oh, it was too salty, I don't want that much flavor. And that's what, like with chicken stock, you gotta watch, because sometimes chicken stock will be kind of salty to start with, so you want to watch adding salt until you actually taste it. So it looks like it's starting to thick a little bit already, chicken. Definitely boiling. Got some nice little bubbles blowing. Yeah, I miss my cookbook friends. I miss all the girls. I said, and the boys that we've had. I said it's been a mix. There's boys, girls, young, old. We've had like young mothers, grandmas, single girls, teens. I said anybody who likes to cook, they're all welcome to come to the cookbook club. Starting to look like a nice gravy. Thought I was noisy in the kitchen. My poor dog, Nellie. If you watch any of my walks with the librarian, I said she's such a scaredy dog. She's like always running. Like right now, she's always afraid of my little camera when I talk and walk. So she hides. So when I'm in the kitchen, it's like the first time, it's like as long as I'm not dropping or doing anything, she's fine. She's like right next to me. But as soon as I drop something, she's out of there. And it is funny. But yeah, usually she's there waiting for me to, give her a snack or catch something that I drop on the floor that's not onion or something that she doesn't like. Well, I think this looks good. So I'm going to turn down my heat a little bit. And then it says, thicken and bubbly, then you return your meatballs to the skillet and simmer for 15 minutes. Okay? So, let me get my, I was going to just try and dump the platter in, but let's just see how it works. Hot. Safe. Get those and then let them simmer. Stir them up in our gravy. We're going to cover. This one's breaking all open and it looks nice and done inside. So some of the gravy on top. It says to let them simmer for 15 minutes, so it is about 26 after. So we'll try and check them probably at a little before quarter till. See that they're all nice and done. Anybody have any questions out there? No? Like I said, all these recipes will be posted on our homepage. You'll go under the teams and you'll find them all there. I'm going to wash the spoon so then we can use it to scoop into. Put her to work again. Okay. Let's quit playing and we'll just let them sit and simmer in there and spin them around after a little bit. But next, like I said, next week's recipe is going to be called pumpkin pasties. So it's going to be crust. So I'll be rolling out again, and you'll put your pumpkin seasoning on it and everything. So I think we'll top it off. Thank you. We'll top it off with some like either brown sugar, or we can do like cinnamon and sugar, and it'll be a nice sweet treat. Sure smells good, doesn't it? We can't wait. Nice and thick. Try and get them nice and coated. Let me try with my spoon. Scoop some of the meat on them. One of my favorite meals from growing up, I always requested every one of my birthday, was fried chicken, baked beans, mashed potatoes. So my mom always made the best fried chicken. And growing up, when we would like go on picnics or something like that, she would always make her fried chicken, put it in the fridge overnight, and then pack it all up so you would eat it nice and cold and it'd be nice and crisp. I don't know how she gets it so crisp and keeps it crisp. But I guess the trick is that you let it dry before you put it away, so it's cool, so it stays crisp then. But yeah, 'cause once you put it in the fridge, it kind of gets salty. But yeah, so that'd be one of our favorite things to take on picnics. It's fried chicken, and then she would always make like a pasta salad or something, or macaroni and potato, but it just depends upon how much room in the cooler you have. Cooking is like a lot of the fond memories, like some of the recipes like my mom used to make. You sit back and I'm like, hey mom, you haven't made these in a long time. She used to always make these little like apple fritters, and it'd be like a special treat. Like if we were having movie night or something at home, she would make these little apple fritters, and we'd sit there and we'd be shredding all these apples, and then she would mix up the batter, and then she would mix them into like a tablespoon size, and scoop them into the oil. And oh my gosh, we would either sprinkle them with cinnamon and sugar, or powdered sugar, or just to eat them plain. They were amazing. But it's just, food, when you eat something or smell something, it always brings like some sort of like a memory or a flashback. So just, if you have young kids or something, they just think of that. Cooking is something they will always need to know. Everybody needs to know how to cook. I said, even if it's just opening a soup can and heating soup. Because I used to work at a grocery store, and you don't know how many people would call and say, I don't know how to cook hot dogs. And it says right on the package, and they're pretty much pre-cooked. You just pretty much got to heat them and eat. But a lot of people do not even know how to cook a hot dog. So, and you never assume that people know how to do certain tasks, because if people are not cooks, they don't know. And you can't assume that people understand. Like I learned one time, I was telling someone how to season some chicken breast, because I worked in the meat department, and I used to have to make prepared foods, and for people to cook still. So we would always make chicken breasts, and they would have to be seasoned and ready to go. So I told the one girl who was working, I said, we need to make 4 packs of chicken breast, 2 per pack, I said, in each flavor, okay? And we had like 5 different seasonings. So I just went about, my day, and come back, after like 10, 15 minutes, and, she was all done, and she was wrapping them all, and I kind of looked at them, and I said, what seasoning is that? And she says, well, all of them. I'm like, but what seasoning is it? Because it's like there would be like a ranch, there was a barbecue, there was a Cajun, I think there was like a honey mustard type or something, and an Italian, and she put all the seasonings on every chicken breast. So she seasoned all chicken breast with all 5 flavors and put all those flavors in the pack, was wrapping them. So it was my fault, because I assumed she understood what I meant, but she was not a cook. So she didn't even think anything about it. So we had to unwrap them and go and rinse them all off and start all over again. But I'm thinking this is getting really thick. So I need to turn this down. And I think it's been in here for a good 10 minutes. And they're looking pretty done because they're starting to break apart a little bit. So I don't think it necessarily needs the 15 minutes to simmer. So Tawny got us our mashed potatoes ready already. So we're going to serve over some mashed potatoes. So I'm going to take a tiny spoon, take a couple little meatballs, find a couple small ones, put in there, and get some gravy, pour over top. Okay, this is our Molly's Meatballs. And it says you can serve 6 people, so if you have a larger family, you might want to double the recipe or make your meatballs smaller. I said I was going to make mine a lot smaller, but with the time and everything, we didn't want to make them too small. I think it's time to taste test. So, let me see, let's break our meatball. Look at that, it's all nice and browned inside, so I did good. And now I'm going to get some of the gravy, some of the onion, mashed potatoes, and try not to slop it on me. Really good. I think it's another home run. Thank you. Join us next week at 1 o'clock on Thursday live, or catch us after we've videoed and posted on YouTube. And next week we're going to make the pumpkin pasties. Hope to see you then. Thank you for joining me. Bye.